Today we're going to delve into the subject of gender and sexuality in Victorian America, and we're going to do so for several reasons. First of all, we want to understand better the lives of 19th century men and women. Also, we need to understand the predecessor for our own modern conceptions of gender and sexuality, and more than any other period, the Victorian era has really influenced modern America. And then lastly, in order to understand the reform movements that happen in the second half of the 1800s, as well as the movement for women's rights and the suffrage movement, you have to understand that within the context of gender and sexuality. Now, much of what we're going to discuss in this lecture is adult in nature, and it may not be something that you want to have playing in, say, if you're at Starbucks or if you have a younger brother or sister in the room with you while you're watching it. You may want to watch it privately. Let's start with a quick look at gender roles in the Victorian era and how they've changed since the colonial time period, as well as why it is that they began to change. So if you can remember all the way back to our lecture on sexuality in colonial America, we discussed early on about the myth of mutual orgasm and how scientists believe that in order for a woman to conceive a child, that both she and her husband needed to orgasm simultaneously. So by the time we get into the late 18th century, scientists at this point have discovered the role of the sperm and the egg in causing conception, and they've abandoned this previous myth. And so what they do is they take the role of the sperm and the egg, and they use this phenomenon to assign physiological differences to men and women. So they say that the egg is passive and it waits quietly, if you will, while the sperm are searching it out in order to impregnate the woman. And so according to this, they assign the difference that women should be passive and submissive to their husbands and to men in general, and that men are much more aggressive and bestial in nature, and that they should be in charge of society. So they're taking these observed differences and they are applying characteristics and traits to humans as a result. And it's at this point that a notion of separate spheres for both men and women really takes root in society. So women are part of the private sphere, and that means that they should be at home, child rearing, taking care of the house. If